Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all
Nerds!
International. With the hyphen.
The Murder Hobo Show presents the Savage Rifter Podcast.
Oh, where are we?
Oh my god, there's a robot!
What? Run away!
I don't know what's happening.
Oh, it's like we're falling through rips in the time-space continuum.
Look out, we're in the middle of water!
There's only one way through this. Are you with me?
Yeah.
We must fight.
The Savage Rifter Podcast.
Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show, episode 12. I am one of your hosts, a.k.a. Oh, wait a second. I screwed it up right out of the gate, Victor. Here we go. I am one of your hosts. I am one of your hosts, Gary, a.k.a. the Murder Hobo, and I am here with none other than world-renowned and infamous riff superstar, DJ Jazzy Diaz.
Y'all ready for this?
Of the Savage Riffs G Plus community fame. I see you brought along some friends. What's happening today, Victor?
Well, you know, game on, Gary. As usual, we have the podcast for the fans and by the fans. This is the one and only, the Savage Rifter, your other host, otherwise known as DJ Jazzy Diaz, like Gary likes to call it. One of these days, I got to change the show notes to change that up, Gary.
It's awesome, dude. It's the best.
You're hysterical. So today, everybody, we're bringing over Dustin. You want to give yourself a round of applause and a quick little intro there? Tell us something about you and yourself.
Well, all I'm going to say is anything can happen on Thursdays, and for 13 minutes, it's been Thursday. So the Savage Intern is doing a little guest spot on the Savage Rifter. Shout out to Dave, Jared, Chris, all you guys. Facepalm if you want, but here I am.
Yeah, that's right. Soon to be stolen.
He stepped up, gentlemen. He's stepping up his game, so you guys look out. We might have to have him on more often.
Dave, they have outlines. I'm going to tell you. We're screwed, man. They have outlines.
Oh, yeah, wait till we show you the intros and the commercials. That'll be interesting.
We like to call it moderately professional podcasting. That's what we call it over here. That's how we
moderately. Roll. You're giving yourself way too much credit, Gary. I was thinking totally amateurish and childish, but okay, I'll take moderately.
Sweet. This is a podcast all about Savage Worlds riffs. We break down Savage riffs piece by piece so Victor can teach me and you, the listener, how to play, enjoy, and understand riffs. What are we doing today, buddy? What's the plan?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about your and my favorite subject, Savage Riffs, Tommorow Legion's Player's Guide. We're still in Chapter 1. We haven't gotten out of it because there's way too much good stuff. We're going to be focusing on the Techno Wizard, and I understand it is one of Dustin's favorite and first classes.
Yeah, it is. The very first character that I played in Savage Riffs was a Techno Wizard. Rob Toll, who's actually part of the G Plus community, ran the game. And I created a Techno Wizard that was also a construct, and thank goodness he kept running because I almost had character creation, almost had him pulling his hair out on that one.
Every character creation in Rifts has me pulling my hair out, especially when using the Palladium rules. It just drives me crazy how many options, how many different books. I mean, you literally need an encyclopedia to be able to put something together sometimes in that game, especially if you're playing anything more than a starting character.
I'm not going to lie, though. Savage Worlds has managed to condense it from 5 pages to 3, so good on you guys.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. Yeah, Sean Patrick Fannin and them have definitely cut it down. We've talked about a lot of the instrumental rules that they've gone and put together in the game. As we go over the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, we've seen a lot of that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, can't wait. The Techno Wizard, it's a really fun class. It could be a big challenge for GMs, but we're going to see if we can talk through it a little bit.
Yes, the Techno Wizard. Fantastic. I actually like this class. You know, it reminds me, well, it is a lot like the Deadlands. Oh, man. Why am I drawing a blank on the Deadlands?
The Mad Scientist?
Yes. which is one of my favorite classes. Building gizmos and gadgets and stuff like that, and things that do things, is it's just top notch. The Techno Wizard. All right, well, let's see what's coming from the rifts there, Victor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, from the rifts, this is news from the community. What we got going in is 592 members coming in on the Rifts G Plus community. Outstanding people. I mean, I say this every show, Gary, and Dustin, you've seen it. But what you guys don't see is the number of people that we have clocking into the G Plus community every day. I have at least 2 or 3 people knocking on the door going, hey, let me in. I want to play this game. And I swear there's at least, I can think of a couple hundred members, and that's saying a lot, but I can think of at least 200 members that I know are active in the community, constantly posting. I mean, shoot, just look at the community postings this week. That was like 16 different postings, all from a bunch of different directions, and it's great. I absolutely love it. So everybody, welcome. All you newbies who are coming on, all you extra 30-odd people that we've had in the last couple of weeks, game on, man. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Join into the conversations. If you have any kind of writing requests, pictures, other blogs that you want to post, as long as it has to do with Savage Worlds or the Rifts, community in general, please, put it all up in there. Now, because we have had so many members join in, and I've had my finger in a bunch of different other stuff all throughout, all over the internet, I want to give a big shout out to Peter Adams. Peter Adams has been in one of the big contributors to the G Plus community for a long time, and he's putting together a really great Apocalypse, 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse storyline. So because of that, he's become the first admin that I've added to the Google Plus forum. So big shout out. Thank you, Peter, for doing what you're doing, keeping everybody in line and helping me out, helping me take care of all of the fun stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But he has this great campaign that he's focusing on the 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse, and I'm really looking forward to adding that to this year's Rifts Annual. He told me that he was taking good notes. He's trying to keep his outlines, with some really good details on how his characters and his parties are taking care of that. So we'll see. You never know. That might be one of the first, outside of the regular Rift storylines, might be one of the big storylines that we can follow along and maybe turn into a campaign. But the annual still has quite a bit of the year left before we get to go in to do that. So I look forward to that. But big shout out to Peter. Thanks so much for his help. He's been great. He's been a great help to me.
So where are you sticking your fingers these days?
Well, you guys know as good as I do. We've been doing the index card role-playing game Threats, Treats, and Timers podcast. In addition to that, I've been writing a bunch of world primers, which are campaign books for or using that particular system. So that's been keeping me busy. Lots of adventure writing and a bunch of other miscellaneous things all throughout RPGdom, as they would like to call it.
When are you going to quit your day job?
When I can make more money than what I'm making now on my night job. It's, honestly, I've talked to my wife about it. I've talked to a couple of people about it, and I still got a few more years of work left in me. I've still got about 20 years worth of actual corporate, doing the business kind of, my day job kind of thing. But I'm hoping to look into it so when I retire, I can have some kind of history behind me so I can continue to do that and continue doing what I love from home, as a retiree, so to speak, and still be able to make money at it and not worry so much about all the day-to-day, who's going to pay the bills, who's going to pay the electricity, kids got to go to school. Hopefully 15, 20 years from now, they'll all be grown and living on their own and taking care of me. And so I can write games 24/7.
My retirement plan consists of making enough money now so that when I turn 60, I can retire, still afford all of the gaming books, and then when I die, I'm going to have like a great big Valhalla ceremonial bonfire where I'm laid atop all of my RPG books and lit on fire and pushed out into this lake that's like right near my house here, I think.
Well, you can't take it all with you, Gary.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm investing as much as I can in the stock market. I just can't go back to working that pole.
Once I throw on this bow, chicka wow wow, what you gonna say? You act like you gonna leave, but
You're done with it, eh? That would be
yeah, the man. Let me tell you, you will never get glitter out of the beard. You just can't.
Once it's there permanently.
Yeah. On a side note, since you brought up writing, I don't know if you guys have been checking out the Savage GM podcast, but last week, Jared actually announced that we have Atomic Ninja is actually going forward. We have a licensure, and I'm going to try and sneak some riff stuff in there if I can. Not really, I can't. Yeah. Kevin, don't sue us, Kevin Simbita. Thank you for allowing us the licensure we have. I'll just stick to the G Plus community.
take what we can get, right? Let's not ruin a good thing. It's only been 1 year. It's only been 1 year. Let's get through the entire year.
I need my fix, man.
If we can get through, Arcane North America and a couple of others that are coming down the pipe, hopefully we can get those put out into Kickstarter soon. I'll probably find out more about that in the upcoming convention, or at least I'm hoping to see Shane and Sean Patrick Fannin and a few other of the people who write Savage Rifts and who work for Pinnacle Entertainment. So I'll probably have more on that. I'll ask them about what's going on, what's happening with all the stuff that needs to happen in order for us to have those extra 3 books. I'm looking forward to it as much as everyone else is. So don't worry, folks. I'm still looking out for you.
I know, and the annual was great, Gary. Victor. I'm sorry, I get you. Yeah, Victor, the annual was great. You had some really good content in there, man. I appreciate you actually taking on that project and putting out and condensing it.
It's a labor of love, Dustin, to be honest with you. I mean, that's the whole point of it all. I mean, that's what we do. That's why we're all in the community. That's why Google Plus has such a great, tabletop RPG community.
I love the old timey gamers. They're always like, back in my day, the dungeon tried to kill you. Couldn't talk to no traps.
I was building dungeons when you were in diapers, you little shit.
We had to walk at 2 pace per hour to outrun the gelatinous cube, and we were happy too.
Yeah. Back in my day, it was a D2 movement.
You got XP by killing stuff, and I want to tell you, I was the slayer of rabbits.
I gotta say too, on a side note, it's the first time I've ever been mistaken for a small... I don't even know what nationality you are, Victor.
So I was born in the United States. I'm an American citizen, but my heritage is all from Mexico. My father is an immigrant. My grandfather was an immigrant to the United States, and they all became citizens. So I was the first generation in my family to go to college. I was the first generation citizen. I'm the oldest of the oldest daughter, so I was the first one born in this country.
I just gotta say, I hate your people, and I'll tell you why. You're tanned year round. I mean, look at this pasty white ass. Hulk Hogan.
It's one of the benefits of being who I am. I can't get rid of it. They always
have that svelte-looking tan year-round. Hulk Hogan. One of his deals is tan fat looks better than non-tan fat.
I love it. It's so true.
Guy. Yeah, all right.
The great thing about the Hulkster is I never thought Oompa Loompas could get that large, but he proved me wrong.
Yes. What else we got on the Savage Rifts here? Voice of Hope podcast, episode 12 is up. Edict of Planetary Freedom. Beacon is asked on the anniversary of Plato's release of the Edicts of Planetary Distress to speak of a growing extra-dimensional threat that is threatening freedom, possibly hope for tomorrow. Take a listen to Sean Masters as he spins his tale on his awesome podcast. You can find it all at Voice of Hope podcast.podbean.com, link in the show notes. Hey, before we go any further, too, speaking of Kickstarter, and speaking of Mr. Kevin CM Beep Beep, what's up with the Robotech stuff, man? You better be careful. He might just sue your ass. I think he needs a couple $1 million to make Wave 2 of the Robotech license that he lost.
Yeah, so I guess some of the fallout from the RPG Tactics, or the Robotech RPG Tactics box set. So there was a couple of waves that all the Kickstarters went in on, and the first wave was the box set and the initial, startup of that Kickstarter, being able to make some miniatures to be able to play the tactical war game that is RPG or Robotech RPG Tactics. And for whatever reasons, there was some manufacturing issues, and there's a whole lot of details on his website. You can go take a look at the 3 or 4 page synopsis that he had of the problems that they had with manufacturing and bad molds and a few other things. But bottom line is they weren't able to come out with Wave 2, and they're giving everyone who had credit or had anything due for Wave 2 either credit at the store or credit on Wave 1 models, or possibly even refunds. And if anybody who remembers that, I think the Kickstarter is about 2 years old, but anybody who remembers that, we're talking millions of dollars of product not just one or two, like close to $3 million worth of product in the Kickstarter that was put out for that. I could be wrong. The number could be even higher, but push comes to shove, I believe Harmony Gold, the company who currently owns the Robotech license, has, for whatever reason, either revoked or refused to renew the license for the RPG with Palladium Games. Like I said, I'm kind of paraphrasing what I read and what was posted on the Palladium website from Kevin himself. So if you want more details about it, please go check out the website. Write Kevin if you have any problems or any questions regarding it. It's important that you get your money's worth, you get what you need to do, but there's been a lot of discussion between a lot of folks in the industry and a lot of folks that are writers, producers, and publishers that this could be really bad news for Kevin Simbidi and the people at Palladium Games. And we're not just talking for the Robotech line. We're not just talking them not being able to sell Robotech books anymore. They are currently selling all of their Robotech second generation Robooks at a severe discount. If you want to buy them now, because you may not be able to get them until another company kickstarts it or remakes them again. Or if Kevin picks up a new license, okay, he'll come out with third generation or volume 3 or version 3, whatever he wants to do, and maybe restart that. But financially, it's a big blow to Kevin Simbidi and the folks at Palladium, and I don't know if they'll be able to recover from it or not. But since we're not privy to all the details of how much money is involved and how much refunds and how much it's costing them on the back end, it could seriously cause some trouble for that company to slow down a lot of its production. So my heart goes out to the company. I totally understand, their logistical and, some serious engineering issues when it comes to losing your molds and having to redo them on totally new software with the similar same manufacturer and then having to repay for all of that stuff. And that stuff isn't cheap. Stainless steel mold for that type of, mass production of a particular miniature, you're talking just the CAD work that needs to be done by a couple of software engineers could be in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $50,000. That doesn't include the materials to remake the new molds, and then you have to pay for that line ahead of time, just like a print work. If you want 10,000 copies to sell, you have to pay for those 10,000 copies to be made. Then it's up to you to sell them. Well, it's the same way with the miniatures. If you have 500,000 miniatures you need to sell, you need to pay for them up front at cost, and then you need to resell those with whatever retail that you can make on the resale on it. So it's part of the business. It's part of the business that we run. But of what I've read so far, it's not quite catastrophic, but that's about as bad as it can get. And that's the most expensive Kickstarter failure that I think I've seen so far in terms of dollars. It's going to really hurt. I'm hoping it doesn't hurt the Rifts license. I'm hoping, Kevin has some backup there, and maybe he has some assets or he has some liquidable cash that he can pump into the company to try to keep things going. But I don't know. Things are kind of iffy right at the moment. So cross your fingers. I'm hoping it won't impact our Kickstarter. I'm hoping it won't impact the next 3 books that Savage Rifts is going to put out. But maybe Sean Patrick Fannin or Shane Hensley or somebody, if they want to hit us up on the email or give us some contact, let us know. We'd be more than happy to get that out to the fans.
Yeah, if you are going to contact Kevin, be nice. Yeah, shit happens, man.
Yeah,
your $20 or $30 you might have lost back in this Kickstarter. From what I've read, some of the comments that people have been writing in, one of the writers or something like that actually tried to commit suicide over all of the stuff that's going on. He was getting, and it's a horrible thing. So, just look at it from that perspective. You might have lost $20 or $30. Somebody almost lost his life because of the ridiculous.
Yeah,
comments.
or even worse. People are going to lose their livelihood.
Mm-hmm. So, regale me with Tales of Freedom Squadron.
Oh yeah, Freedom Squadron. So our wonderful and illustrious writer of Savage Rifts has decided to write a love letter to his one and only favorite G.I. Joe. He'll tell you it's a bunch of 80s cartoons that he's thrown in there, but really that's what he's writing. And the game that he's writing is called Freedom Squadron. So you haven't found that out yet. You need to go out to the Kickstarter and pick that up. I think the Kickstarter goes on through April 10th, about 9 a.m. Central Time. So if you haven't put your money down on that game, check it out. You actually get some pretty good deals for pretty cheap. It's not very expensive. It's not a really high dollar game. You can, for $40, $60, which you normally pay for one rule book for a regular tabletop role-playing game, you can pick up the PDFs, a couple of the books, and even a set of cards that comes with it. It's really unique. So everyone's probably asking, okay, why are we talking about Freedom Squadron? Yeah, Sean Patrick Fannin wrote it and whatever. But the first thing you should think about is, how can I put this into Rifts? I mean, you're going to want to add a lot of the stuff that is going to be coming out in the Freedom Squadron into your Rifts games. So number one, plans and operations. I got a chance to play this game with Sean Patrick Fannin on last July at Crit Hit. It's a local convention that they have here in Arizona, and it's mostly for a lot of the Savage Worlds writers, producers. The Shane Hensley is there. He's the owner of Pinnacle Entertainment. So you get to hobnob with a bunch of these guys, and we got to play a game or a beta test, some of the Freedom Squadron stuff. And one of the things that he's doing is a really unique combination of Savage Worlds play elements that you can do in like a mission style. He calls it an action cinema montage. So it's really fast paced. It includes everybody that's in the story. It's not just one or two people that are driving the whole thing. And it's designed to feature all of the hero skills, all of their abilities, all of their powers, all of their equipment, all the things that they're really good at. And it doesn't focus on one guy. It kind of, the spotlight kind of moves around upon each player when you have one of these plans and operations turns, where you use the cards that he's designed to help you figure out what your mission's going to be, what your difficulties are going to be, and then you kind of narrate it. You make one die roll per person, and it alters, how successful you are at what you do and how you do. It seems really complicated, but it's not. It's really simple once you get up and start seeing how it's done. So every time that you do one of those plans and operations, it changes what's happening in the near future, and it changes how the final big bad end guy is going to approach the game, and how much hindrances or how many edges that you're going to have, how many bennies you're going to get, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it was really, really dynamic rules. As usual, SPF is putting together some really creative rule sets that are all work within the Savage Worlds rule set. And it's so easy to plug and play that stuff, take that card deck, and be able to create missions that'll narratively change what you're doing with your characters as a group and as a team. So I'm really looking forward to be able to pick his brain and cut some of those pages out of that rule book and put it into the Savage Rifts games, because I think there's a lot of stuff that'll cross over really easily. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can choose as part of your skill set when it comes to those new edges for Freedom Squadron. So looking forward to stealing that, skill focuses, gear points. I mean, it runs the gambit. It's just, there was so much stuff we went over in that game. I could go on and on for hours on it, but if you get a chance, check it out. Go to Kickstarter. You can just type in Freedom Squadron Kickstarter, and you'll be absolutely just blown away at the stuff that you're going to see.
You know what it looks like to me? For fans of the original Palladium's Rifts, if you wanted to play a coalition game or a mercenaries game, this is how you would do it. You pick up Freedom Squad, and you would, if you wanted to do the whole traditional route, this is one of the ways.
Yeah, that was exactly my point when I was looking through Freedom Squadron. The first thing I mentioned to Sean Patrick Fanning going, you could just file off the serial numbers and take away the G.I. Joe references, and you can plug in Coalition Soldier to every single one of these and then use that to play it. And he's like, you hit it right on the nose right there. That's how you would do it. So in one or two books that are going to be a part of the Kickstarter, literally just, take a black marker, put it through there, and punch in the names of the Coalition soldiers, all the different specialists, all the different pilots and robot armors and vehicles and stuff you have, and there you go. You can do a Coalition soldier army, and you can do a Merc force, and run with it. It's awesome. I think it's going to be really, really great, not just for the Savage Rifts catalog, but I think it'll be great for the Pinnacle Entertainment catalog.
I went full PDF on that Freedom Squadron now. Now, had it been Team America... I would have probably, right? I would have probably went full on books.
Durka Durka, Muhammad Jihad, Haka Sherpa Sherpa, Bakala. Oh, Durka Durka Durka.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up, getting my books, getting my set of cards. I think I went in for the GM's kit, so it'll be good to go. I can't wait to see that one. Get to play it.
Do you remember the part where Gary is alone in the hangar with that guy, and he's trying to get him to do some sexy time stuff?
I remember the first time we met. You were a simple Broadway actor, afraid to get in my limo because you thought I wanted you to perform oral sex on me. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And now the tables are turned, and I don't know if I can trust you. Okay, let's do it. Here we go. And go. are dedicated.
I did not live that down for years after that stupid movie came out because I happen to have the same name. And anytime I saw one of my retarded friends, they would repeat that saying.
I love it. I got to remember that one.
Moving on. Savage Rift's character catalog, the latest project from the G Plus community. What's going on with this, Victor?
All right, you guys. So I know everybody's been chomping at the bits. Now, this From the Rifts is getting a little long, but that's okay because we've got a lot to talk about. And this is one of the big ones. A few weeks ago, I posted on the G Plus catalog, here's the new project for the Google Plus community. What we're going to do is we're going to create a character catalog. Now, those of you that are old enough to remember, and yes, I'm showing my age, there used to be a Dungeons and Dragons little book with a whole bunch of rogues gallery list of characters that we could pick from as a GM. Now I'm talking the old original, like second edition series of books. So I'm going back here.
I remember that book like it was yesterday. It was just like my day. It was just yesterday.
Yeah, so we're going to do the same thing with the Savage Rift character catalog. I want to create a catalog, at least 100 characters. 50 would be nice, but I'm going for 100. If you're going to go for it, let's go for it, right? Go big or go home. I want to see 100 characters all filled out. Brand new NPCs that we've never seen before. Old characters you've played that you want to resurrect. But there's some rules on how we're going to do this. And the reason we're doing the rules is I need to make it a little bit faster for myself to be able to compile all this stuff because, believe it or not, it takes a lot of time to be able to make it into a coherent document. So if you can follow all the rules, you'll get your character put in the character catalog. And, of course, include your name as part of it. But here's the rules. So, Gary, rule number 1, we're going to ask everyone to use either Google Docs or Microsoft Word so I can copy and paste that easily and import it all with a whole bunch of actions, and it'll automate the whole process for me. So you have to use either one of those document types in order to capture your PC, and then just put your link to your document, either share it from Microsoft OneDrive or your Google Drive, and put the link in there so I can go find it and everybody can look at it. It can be view only. That's okay. I'll just copy and paste what's in there so nobody can edit it. And only the PCs that have a complete write-up are going to be accepted. So if if it's misspelled, if you're missing some stuff, if you've only done stats, if you just put a character concept up there, sorry, it's not going to be good enough. I'm looking for complete write-ups. So that brings me to rule number 2. You need to be able to use the link to the template. So you follow the link to the template that I've posted as part of the Google Plus post. The template is actually a variation of John Cooper's Google Docs template for Savage Rift characters. I thought it's really great because it flows on your phone, on a tablet, on the screen. It's easy to use, and everybody can just punch their numbers in, punch their information in, and we're all using the same template. So I think it'll be great. Note, if you don't use the template, I will not use it in the book, period. I just need to make this simpler for me because 100 characters is a lot of pages. Again, it's just to streamline it and make it easier for me. Saves me a lot of time up front. So one of the examples that I'd like to give is the one that Journey Jakes posted. He had a character that was absolutely awesome. The character was called Cassidy Jammer. It was a half-elf female crazy. If you haven't looked that up, look up Journey Jakes or look up Cassidy Jammer in the Google Plus thing, the Google Plus page. Awesome example of an entry-level character with a lot of detail, a lot of color, really nice artwork that was brought as part of that character class. Even without the artwork, even if you just read through the different details of the character, the skills and the abilities and powers, you're going to absolutely see that picture in your head right after you get done doing it. So take a look at that. Use that as a great example. Copy and paste it, do what you want to do with it. But I think that's a really, really great example of the level of characters that I want to see as part of the character catalog, which brings me to the next section or the next requirement, which is requirement number 3. At the end of John Cooper's Google Docs template, the variation that I did was I added the 15 questions that Journey Jakes used at the end of his Cassidy Jammer example character. So I took those characters, put them in the template. So you need to answer the 15 questions shown at the end of the template. Incomplete answers will not be accepted. If some of those questions don't apply to your character, then just put not applicable or does not apply or, it doesn't work for the character class. I can understand that because not everything's going to capture every character in the world. But I think if you answer those 15 questions, it'll make it so much easier for a GM to be able to pick that character as the next big bad guy. Or if you're looking for a convention game, you could take that catalog printout and just pick whichever one that kind of fits in where you want to do. Everyone's always looking for inspiration for games. I'm always looking for the next inspiration to make my next player character, because I make very unique player characters with a lot of depth. And I think if you are real shallow with your characters, I think it's not going to really play well when you show it to someone else. Because, yeah, you can run that character, but you won't be able to run it as good as the next guy who you're going to be sharing it with if you don't have all that background information. And I think those 15 questions really narrow it down to kind of giving you a good example of how the character thinks, how they'll react in certain situations, and then maybe how you want to alter the character to be able to fit your needs or your creativity. So that's rule number 3, answer the 15 questions. Rule number 4, and this is the last one, and I think it is absolutely vital, and I picked this up from Hankerin. You have to have a picture with your PC. How do you know what everyone else looks like? How do you picture it? Just because you see it in your head, you got to remember you're going to be sharing this with other people. So if they can't picture what you look like, it's going to be that much more difficult for them to understand your character, because we're a visual race. 90% of everything that we do is what we can see in front of us. So even if it's a black and white picture, even if it's a carbon sketch on the sidewalk or whatever you want to do, take a picture of it with your phone, copy it off the internet, compile one, and put one from pieces of different pictures together. This is going to be unique. The only thing that I ask it, if you're going to be using someone else's art, if you go to DeviantArt, or if you go to a bunch of these art websites where you get a bunch of these comic book artists that really do some great work, if you're going to use their work in this, at least give them the credit where credit's due. All you have to do is give me the name of the artist. So, put your name on the document, say, this is my character, the art was done by so-and-so. It's real easy. Even if it's just their screen name and you don't know the real name, at least give me some direction to where I can find them and make sure it's okay, because I don't want to be using someone's art, particularly comic book artists, because they work at this for a living, or illustrators that work for the RPG industry. They come up with some really great art, and I don't want to be stealing any of their thunder. Let's give them credit where credit is due. So, rule 1, use Google Docs or MS Word or Word Tool. Rule 2, use the template that's posted in the Google Plus page. Rule 3, you have to answer those 15 questions. And rule number 4, it's got to have a picture in it. Even if it's black and white, give me something to work with. I want the book to be, as good a quality as we can get. So the better the picture's going to be, the better it's going to look on paper, the better it's going to be as a whole. So that's pretty much my idea for the Savage Risk character catalog. I hope everybody puts in their 2 cents. There's no limit to how many characters you can write and you can put out. You just have to make sure that they all meet those requirements, and I think we could really put something great together. I'd love to see it, because there's lots of options. Just the character classes that we've gone over, in the main rulebook, we could be doing those all year long. Oh, we have been. We've been talking about them almost for a year now.
Dustin, you have that glazed look in your eyes. Do you know all the rules?
Do what?
Do you know all the rules?
Oh, yeah. No, I've been reading.
Okay.
I've been reading this. I'm just sitting here trying to think about how I'm going to redux Wolverine.
Yeah, there's some awesome stuff. I've seen a lot of good characters and a lot of good iconic frameworks and classes and stuff come out of the Rifts Annual. And there was a couple of them that did some superhero stuff, and there was some, classic characters that people wanted to import into Rifts. And one of the things that I was trying to do is trying to include in the Rifts Annual works that were complete. I didn't need a half a sheet, a quick description, or what if we did this and just ideas. And a lot of people were submitting stuff, but it lacked content. It lacked meat. There was some bones there. There was some good head on their shoulders, but I needed 4 colors. I needed how tall they were. I needed some more details on the character and the mind and what it was doing. And so, I tried to include only those that were complete and whole and didn't bring up a lot of questions when you're making the character class, because I think that's where a lot of people stumble. They don't have 30 years of experience playing role-playing games, so some of the younger guys, or even the guys that are just picking up the game last year, they would really struggle at trying to find out what motivates the character, what keeps them moving, how do they handle combat, how do they handle social expectations. So I kind of created this character catalog with these rules for that reason. I saw what we were missing and some of the good stuff that was being submitted, but it wasn't enough. There wasn't enough meat on those bones. So I'm hoping everybody can do the same thing and we can make a whole new catalog in addition to the Savage Rifts Annual. That's going to be different for 2018. I'm going to include a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to be putting out as time goes by.
Well, it looks like the rules are really helpful. I mean, they definitely give you the lines to color and, oh, yeah. No, I mean, and then plus not only that, it standardizes them. And that's one of the issues. I think we have some people that have created some characters, but they've been like all over the board. You know, it's like a Jackson Pollock painting. You don't know what it is. You're just like, oh well, this looks good.
You should request page 69 when you hand in your Techno Wizard construct.
Right? So he can just...
No,
Gary, you don't have any idea. The character had a horrible lisp and the burrow power.
A lisp?
A lisp.
He had a lisp. Yeah, nice.
Hello, sir. How are you this evening?
Fantastic. I think that we should also create a GIF of Victor lighting paper on fire and just dropping it into a wastebasket so that if you don't follow all of the rules, that's what he's going to post. Your name on Google Plus and a GIF of him lighting your character on fire and dropping it into the bin, as Harrison likes to say. Sweet justice. All right, so that's it for the riffs, man. Let's head over to the Nexus points. Get down with it.
Nexus Points.
So today's Nexus Point is the Tommorow Legion's Player's Guide, and today we are talking Techno Wizard, not the Pinball Wizard.
Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball from Soho down to Brighton.
Not that guy, because the Pinball Wizard...
Although
what?
You might be able to make up a Pinball Wizard using the Techno Wizard rules. That's how crazy this game can get. That's how crazy the Techno Wizard can get. Literally like pinball steel balls, and you hit people, and when they explode, they light up like pinball, like the pinballs when they dance around all over the machine.
I must have played them all, but I ain't seen nothing like him in any amusement hall. That deaf, dumb, and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball.
That could be really interesting. You could do a lot of fun stuff with that.
You could have a really badass song behind you by The Who. Ever since I was a young boy, and that plays while you're like casting stuff. While you're singing.
You do have the Gazetteer edge, so you can do that if you wanted.
Yeah, you can do that on the fly. That's what I love about the Techno Wizard.
Nice.
Yeah, so everybody, we're going to start right off on this one. The Techno Wizards, page 42 of the Tommorow Legion Players Guide. If you're listening to this and you got your rulebook handy, pull it out and read along as we go through this. The Techno Wizard's really great, right? It can do a lot of fun stuff, and it can drive the GM absolutely bonkers when it comes to the craziness that entails with the Techno Wizard. So for those of you who don't know, the Techno Wizard is pretty much a wizard class, a magical class. You do have the arcane background of weird science. And it can get a little weird because the Techno Wizard can create magical items, and that's the easiest way to put it. What he's doing is he's casting spells using his own energy and pouring that energy into, for example, let's use the running gag of the Techno gun, the telekinetic gun. He's casting the spell telekinesis in the gun, and the bullets that shoot out are telekinetic bullets. Okay, so he doesn't have a run out of ammo until he runs out of what's called PPE points, the power points that they use to be able to keep the gun firing, so to speak. So as long as he's able to pump his PPE into that gun, he'll be able to perpetually fire it, within the range of the weapon, if he has the weapon skill or the gun skill. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't look into, is how the skills tie into what the wizard can do. Because just because he can make it doesn't mean that he can use it. I've had many Techno Wizards try to make flying tanks, and they can build it, and they put it together, and it has a gun and lasers and force fields and the whole nine, and say, okay, who's got the driving skill?
Right.
Exactly. It's like, so you try to drive it, and you're like rolling a D4 hoping for a 4, because and that's just to keep it under control. Forget all the fancy stuff. So as a Techno Wizard, you're able to create not just, enchanted devices like weapons. You can create vehicles. You can create shields, armor, wands. You can use staves that shoot flaming magic. I mean, you can really go crazy with it. And the really nice thing is a Techno Wizard can create those pretty much on the fly, as long as he has the skill, ability, and most of all, the parts. Because without the parts, the Techno Wizard is nothing. So let's start out right here. We go into the hero's journey with the first 5 rolls that you get. Now you get 3 rolls on the following tables. It says you can use the education table, enchanted items and mystic gadgets, which is always fun, and of course, magic and mysticism. Now, Techno Wizards also gain 2 rolls on any table, any 2 tables, except for psionics. So last time I think we were talking about the mystic, and we all know that the mystic can use all of the arcane backgrounds for the magical abilities and also for the psionic ability. So they get the best of both worlds. Or this is, a Techno Wizard is kind of the opposite. It's very specific and can only have the arcane background for arcane spells.
They reference Tesla here. Magic is the ultimate in broadcast power, and the great ancient wizard Tesla would be very proud of what they've done with it so far. I love it when they do stuff like that. That's pretty freaking funny. So yeah, everything but psionics for these guys. What's in education when we get there? Do you guys know off the top of your heads?
I got my book handy. Let me take a look. Mostly, if I remember correctly, education gives you just certain buffs. Like it'll give you certain edges that are related to smarts, but also beefs to your intelligence score.
Yeah, which gives you more dice to skills or gives you more points to certain things.
Well, I know that you have to know a lot of things as a Techno Wizard.
Yeah, exactly. So characters need to have at least a smarts D6 when rolling on the table for education. So that automatically tells you where you're going to be putting a lot of your points, is into your smarts rolls or into your engineering skills and stuff like that. Here's an example, like number 7, following in the footsteps of Aaron Tarn. Your character is a student in the past. Only by understanding what has come before can he hope to make the most of what he has to come. He gets knowledge history at a D8 and a +2 on all common knowledge checks. So just bonuses to everything from history to healing. You get the healer's edge in some cases, survival, streetwise, persuasion, knowledge battle, command edge, investigator edge, investigator skill, knowledge computers. It really varies on the various types of educational backgrounds. Like number 1 and 2, you get the jack of all trades edge, which is kind of cool because it allows you to be able to do a lot of different things in pretty much any skill you want.
That is a very important one to have.
Yeah, but as a special note, no psionics. So what does that mean? You can't create psionic items. You can only create arcane items. And that's really important because a lot of players don't remember that about their characters. They think just because they can use PPE that they can do that with ISP points also to be able to make psionic items, and that's kind of important. Which brings us to our next point. I can hear machinery. I love this about Techno Wizards. Techno Wizards can talk to machines, whether it's digital, whether it's mechanical. They can almost talk to them like they're pets, like they're other people, like they understand what they're thinking, what's going on, what hurts them, what aches them, what ails them, or what can make them better. It's really awesome, and I think if you take that a little bit to the loco side of the spectrum, you can play somewhere between a crazy and a Techno Wizard, where the guy's talking to the machines, and then you realize that he really is talking to the machines. He's not just talking to them. And then when the crazy picks up on that and follows up on that and starts to do the same thing, and then you start to figure out, okay, who's the crazy and who's the Techno Wizard? That's always a fun way to play that off.
I just got this idea of like Star-Lord as a Techno Wizard by having like telemechanics.
Yeah.
I mean, because telemechanics gives you like a +4 to doing whatever you want to a machine. So, I mean, that's one way to crack the code.
Yeah, exactly. At least give you a bonus to get you a head start on. As a starting character, that's what you want. You want to try to get all those bonuses as soon as you can, get as much points as you can in all those skill sets. Because as a Techno Wizard, it's pretty much an engineering class. It's a mechanic. You're going to be able to be Mr. Fix-It, and you want all the edges and bonuses that you can get. So it goes on a little further to talk about Techno Wizards. They're the weird science maestros of Earth. They get a whole bunch of powers. They get access to damn near every arcane power that I'm looking at here. There's quite a few of them. Everything from armor to stun, quickness to damage field, dispel, fly, havoc, warrior's gift. Oh, and this is even better. They get to choose any trappings for their powers except for necromantic. So if you want to take the stun electrical field and the fire bolt and the smoke barrier It's ridiculous, some of the fun stuff that you can come up with.
You know, it's one of my favorite parts about playing the not the Techno Wizard, but the Deadlands version that I once again forgot about.
The Mad Scientist.
Yes. So anytime I play the Mad Scientist, one of the best parts about it is trying to figure out how you're going to put some of these spells into a device. Like, one of my characters actually has he was a merchant, and he has a. I don't know if you guys had A&W restaurants in the States, because I know Coke owns them and stuff, but way back in the day, like, they would come out in their rollerblades and they had those those coin changers. One of my characters has one of those that shoots like bolts out of that. He was a merchant in a store. So when you go in to buy something, like leather or scraps of this or whatever, maybe some rations or something like that. His belt was actually that's how he fired off his bolt spell was done through a friggin' change dispenser you wear around your waist.
That's awesome. Lots of those creative kind of ideas are what makes a Techno Wizard really unique. You can really get into some really crazy gadgets and everything from, belt buckles that make you disappear, invisibility spell on a ring. That kind of stuff is really, really awesome. You can take a leather jacket, and a lot of people think, okay, like a leather motorcycle jacket, what can you do with that? Well, a Techno Wizard can wire that up with some copper wires and maybe throw a capacitor up in the pocket or something, and now it turns it into the Armor of Ithon spell, and he can cast a force field out of that leather jacket just because he turned it into a Techno Wizard device on the fly. And you can do that as a Techno Wizard pretty much every round of the game. As long as you continue to roll well, you can keep going doing that over and over and over again. Everything from creating guns from from the change purse that you have on your belt or the change machine to throwing magic bullets from the rocks that you picked up off the ground. Sometimes that's all it needs. You wrap a wire around it, draw a rune with a crayon, and next thing you know, it's an explosive fireball spell on the end of it. You can really have a lot of fun with the Techno Wizard, I think. You just have to be creative.
If you're a fan of Fallout, you can create the junk jet. Pretty much you've just got a whole big pile of junk with a weed eater, a leaf blower, and you're just throwing it in there and do.
Yeah, I had a player who actually picked up the the book that they sell to play video games. The Fallout book version of that, and it had all the rules on how to put together all the different items. And so he was using that as his catalog of junk, of Techno Wizard junk, and he would be making leaf blower flamethrowers, and it was shooting out saw blades, and he would get bullets, and instead of making them regular bullets, he would use them in a slingshot, and they were like explosive bullets, explosive flaming bullets, and just all kinds of. He came up with the leather jacket idea for the force field, and just really nutty stuff. But it's really, really cool because you can make that stuff on the fly, especially if you're playing or your character is in like a city or, God forbid, a junkyard. I mean, you could just come up with some really crazy stuff.
My gosh, it's MacGyver.
Yeah, it's literally the magical MacGyver, right? Yeah, the Techno Wizard.
It says that you cannot take Techno Wizards cannot take the normal Gazetteer edge, but they start with a variant for free. Oh, and then it says see below. Okay, so what does Gazetteer do? Gazetteer is the one that lets you make an item kind of a thing. That's the sort of like not MacGyver, but it's like once in a certain amount of time you can create something. Isn't that what Gazetteer does?
Yeah, exactly. As like an action, you can be able to put together a couple of items out of your pockets, a couple of random bits and pieces of equipment. You can take a grenade and a paper clip and a piece of string, and next thing you've made a claymore out of it. That kind of stuff. It's kind of like the MacGyver edge. The Gazetteer is actually called Arcane Machinist. If you go down to the bottom of 42, it goes up into 43. It tells you kind of what you can do. So it allows you to produce a magical gadget replicating any power available to Techno Wizards. And well, if you look at the power list, that's quite a bit. Flight, invisibility, farsight, healing, pummel, quickness, telekinesis, teleport. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You'd need a catalog for a catalog almost. It would be fun to see. I'd love to be able to see the Techno Wizard catalog show up for this thing. So if anybody out there who's really brave, start writing it. We'll put it up on the Google Plus page.
Yeah, but, as an action instead of 1d20 minutes, that is pretty quick, man. You could just burn something up.
Right, the Gazetteer does it in 1 to 20 minutes. The Arcane Machinist skill lets him to do it in an action. So if you want to take the multi-action penalty, you could actually do it a couple of times in a turn. you could make the gun, make the bullets, and make the grenade launcher to the gun, and have it all working.
They are one of those characters that you really need to have in your support. I ran Garnet Town Gambit, and the boss at the end of Garnet Town Gambit, I don't want to spoil it, but if you don't want to get spoiled, don't listen, is a greater demon, and they're pretty much, they take half damage from anything that's not magic. So just having the ability to take the weapons and cast smite on them makes it incredibly useful.
Well, sure, yeah, because everything they use requires PPE, which is what all magic is based on.
If you haven't played Garnet Town Gambit by now, shame on you. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. I think everybody I know has. Everybody except for the group that I ran a 10-session campaign of Savage Rifts, and that's only because I custom wrote that one. I didn't use any of the stuff out of the books because I figured they would take it home and play with their kids or their gaming groups, and they would be playing it themselves, and I think half of them probably already have. Now, what's really important that I think we should note for the Techno Wizard's Arcane Machinist skill is it says at the very end, a Techno Wizard can use Arcane Machinist up to half her smarts die per session. So if you haven't figured it out yet, smarts is where you want to put all your points. You want to get a D12 in there so you can use it 6 times in a gaming session, because that's going to be the maximum that you can do it.
Yep. By the looks of it, there's a few other requirements too. So if you want to make a device, you got to make a successful Techno Wizardry roll at -2 per rank. So that's per rank of the power. So if you're going like legendary, this thing just starts stacking up. The device, which is cool, this is what I love about these things too. The device has a pool of its own power. You make like a belt with a shield on it or something like that, and you can just give it to somebody else, and they can use these things, which is pretty neat.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah, especially if you have other players that have other arcane backgrounds, or they can use their PPE. They can use that to kind of refuel or refill their own ammo clips, their shields, their whatever you want to call it. Even psionic characters, they can take their ISP points, and on a 2-to-1 conversion, you can turn it into PPE to recharge those weapons. So, if you have a Master Psionist in their Mind Melter, for example, you can hand them a Techno Wizard item, and they can use it. So it becomes really handy, especially if you have anybody who has any kind of PPE.
The weird science edge. So the Techno Wizards begin with 3 powers, each in a gizmo of their own design, as with all weird science types. Now, when you're playing Deadlands, does that weird scientist, or does weird scientist's basic one get 3, or does he just get 1 to start with? Is the 3?
I believe that off the top of my head, you only get 1 in Deadlands. I think the reason for that is because Deadlands is a little bit more on the steampunk light version, where Savage Rifts is more on the superhero techno magical high-end future version. There's nanites and all that other stuff. So 2 different ends of the spectrums. I would assume that's why they did it, but because the power levels in Savage Rifts are a hell of a lot higher than they are. If you brought a Deadlands character into Savage, like a mad scientist, and you brought him into Savage Rifts, oh yeah, they would never want to go back. Because the stuff that you can do in Savage Rifts is well off the charts compared to what you can do in Deadlands as a mad scientist. You can still get crazy. I mean, you can build wagons that transform into, magical golems that you ride in and pilot. Yeah, you can get crazy with it, but you can ride a glitter boy in Rifts. So kind of, I never want to go back. Never want to see that again. But yeah, there is a difference. You can do 1 as a Deadlands mad scientist, but 3 as your weird science ability gives you for the Techno Wizard.
I think I'm taking glasses of X-ray vision so that I can
nice.
Check out the ladies. I'm going to have cowboy boots of speed so I can make my getaway, and probably like a cod piece that shoots bullets out of it, magical bullets. And that's it. I'm not even going to wear like one of those long black overcoats or anything like that. That's just all I'm just going to wear. I just got a cod piece. Just going to be a
stud.
Right? Cod piece, cowboy boots, and
awesome.
Glasses. That's my entire character. Can we put him on page 69?
Note to self, don't let Gary play a Techno Wizard in your game. Okay, I'll put that next to number 1. Okay.
All right, so PPE, not ISP?
Correct. PPE is pretty much the PowerPoint that they use to be able to power all of the arcane abilities. ISP, and they go hand in hand. The only difference is it takes 2 ISP points to turn into 1 PPE. So if the machine or gun requires 5 PPE to refill the battery or to cause an effect, to create a power or whatever, it's going to take 10 ISP in order to be able to power that unit. It's kind of one of the throwbacks from the original Rifts. You could kind of use those hand in hand, and there was a larger, more complicated conversion, but that's the easy version that they allow you to use here in this one, for the Savage Rift version anyways.
Isn't there a character that can detect magic? Not the Mystic, but I think it was a few more back that can detect Arcana.
The Leyline Walker.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
It was either the Leyline Walker or the Mind Melter.
yeah, I know one of them too.
Both can, actually.
Both can, yeah.
The Mind Melter can take the ability as one of his powers, but the Leyline Walker has it innately.
Yeah.
It might be something cool to throw in if you want to give your characters loot or something like that. Is you could have like, maybe they find like a Techno Wizards item or something like that laying in and amongst the rubble that gives you as the DM a little bit of creative license to throw something into the game that might interest you and see how your players play. In Deadlands, I'll tell you my funny story. We were doing the Flood, and in Deadlands, the players that I was playing with, I play with kids, 16, 15, 16. So when it gets stupid, I have a tendency to go with it because it's just, fun ensues. We were going into, I want to say Shanghai, but I don't think that's the name of the town. But it's in the Flood, you head north to, it's basically like Chinatown. And on the way there was a tavern that they stopped at. And inside this tavern, one of the players decided that there was a bowling lane. So they wanted to have a bowl-off competition with somebody in order to meet the boss, so to speak, right? And the boss comes down, and he's got a bowling ball, and inside the bowling ball was a gun. So if you've ever seen what is the crazy heroes? The guy with the spleen with do you know what I'm talking about? The weird heroes. Mystery Men, right?
Mystery Men.
I'm the spleen. And there was the rose inside the crystal, or the sort of the see-through bowling ball. Anyways.
Oh, it's her father's skull.
Was that what it was? Wasn't it a rose?
It was a Phantom Bowler. Yeah, it was played by Janine Garofalo.
That's right. Yeah. My
walking
memory.
Around with her dad's skull and a bowling ball.
So the boss guy, he's got a bowling ball with a gun in it, and he could just wiggle a few dials and then roll the bowling ball, and then, at X amount of feet, it would just start randomly shooting bullets. However many he decided, it would shoot up to 6 bullets in random directions if he tuned the dials in. How's that for a cool ass gizmo?
Note to self: no bowling balls in games with Gary.
He is actually in that bowling alley when he rolls the ball, right? Because that's like, oh, hey, shoot at everybody. Just equal opportunity.
Yeah, he wasn't racist. Why you gotta be so racist? The gist of it was you would take the bowling ball, you would dial it into whatever and throw it into a room and just let it bounce around. And they never really did use it for that. In fact, I think the game ended shortly after that. We kind of packed her up a little bit there. But anyways, I digress. Machine Maestro. What's going on here? What's happening with this?
So Machine Maestro allows you to interface. You know how he could talk to machines? This one allows you to interface with any electronic or mechanical device by touch. You get a bonus to any non-combat trait rolls. Another examples could be like bypassing security, picking locks, operating vehicles, or using sensors just by touching the machine itself. You can also interface with Arcane devices, usually other Techno Wizard devices, and the bonus increases to double of what it normally is. You get a combat-related trait roll and the creation and repair of Techno Wizard Gizmo devices, but those bonuses are a lot lower. So for combat-related trait rolls, you get a +1, but for the creation and repair of Techno Wizard devices, you get a +2. So Machine Maestro pretty much comes down to a bunch of bonuses that you get depending on what you're doing, whether you're using telemetry to read a machine, whether you're using a combat-related skill, such as firing a weapon or firing a Techno Wizard weapon, combat-related or non-combat-related. You're going to be better at it than the regular guy. just because you have the innate ability to be able to talk to the machine, talk to the weapon, or use the abilities and powers that are within it. It's a really simple but a crucial part of the Techno Wizards dice mechanics and systems that you can be able to get your bonuses from.
So if you had two Techno Wizards side by side, and one of them was a Techno Wizard bowler, and the other Techno Wizard used the Machine Maestro, to touch the bowler's balls, could he make his gun fire?
You'd have to buy him dinner first.
Oh, brother.
Oh, that's awesome, Gary.
Not really. It's not. It's two dudes grabbing balls and having guns fire. Like
the time-honored tradition of bowling.
That gives a whole new meaning to the word.
That's why they wear those gloves. Required knowledge. What is this for?
So it looks like required knowledge. A Techno Wizard has to be an expert in a number of fields. They get some free skills out of it. They get knowledge arcana, knowledge engineering, and knowledge science and repair, all with D6s for free. So there's 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's almost 10 points of skills for free, just for being a Techno Wizard.
I thought you were just trying to count like 4 things, and then you got to 10 somehow, and then I realized what you were doing. Dustin, what was your character's, your Techno Wizard's constructs deal? What did he make? I'm curious to know now.
So he had engineering, and he effectively would go into towns and he would build up their infrastructure. And since he's a construct, he had Asimov Circus, but he also had like his deal is he would build and repair things. So after we would get done with combat and we go into the settlement, Jonesy would see that, oh, hey, these people don't have running water. Let me start building that. Oh, these people need a generator. So Rob was really generous in the fact that I was actually playing up my hindrances. But pretty much, like, a Techno Wizard is probably your best hearts and minds character, because people don't have a hospital. Well, guess what? He can get the power running. He can get med supplies going. And that's what he would do. He would go in, he would get water and power and just whatever the people needed. He'd get it rolling.
What weapons, or sorry, what spells did you take, and what devices were they attached to?
I took Blast, and since he was a construct, it was actually his hand. He would do the Mega Man bit. Like
nice.
Yeah, he'd have a hand, and then all of a sudden he'd flip it out, and suddenly it's a blaster. And I took Burrow. His feet would just burrow into the ground. And I forget what the other one was. I think the last one was Smite, because I'm going to be honest with you, folks. If you're going to play Rifts, somebody in the party needs Smite. Somebody needs Smite.
Everybody should have Smite in one way, shape, or form. See, this is where the Techno Wizard can really shine, because if you've got guys that are not combat savvy, quote unquote, an engineer, a scout, a hacker, whatever they may be or they may not be, buy some gloves, throw some crystals on them, wrap them in some wiring, hook up a battery, and next thing you know, you have gloves that cast Smite.
Mm-hmm.
And you can give that to just about anybody, and it'll work for a while. And when they need it recharged, hey, Wizard, can I get it recharged? And they can recharge the gloves for you. You don't have to be, you could still be wearing the items and they can recharge them for you. It'll just take a few turns. If you're smart, the GM will have you run out of points or run out of power in the middle of combat. So that becomes kind of one of those juxtapositions that you have to deal with. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it happens outside of combat, and you can just, while I'm sleeping, before I go to bed, I'll recharge his gloves or something. And that's usually how it goes on with.
It's a nightmare for like somebody that puts all their points into robot armor, and they're like this awesome, like just walking around beating the snot out of anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a demon comes out, and the demon will take half damage from anything that's not magical.
Yep.
So Mr. Brandy Macho Man Savage, Gundam style, just drops the elbow, and the demon looks at him like, what was that?
Yeah, and then after the fight's over, the robot pilot's getting out, looking at his robot, going, "Oh my God!" And it's got chunks missing, one leg's half gone, and he's like, "Okay, I'm going to try to fix it with what skill?"
Right.
And he's like, "Smarts." yeah, you're smart enough to know you can't fix it with that. That's where the Techno Wizard's going to shine, right? He's going to come up, he's going to touch it, he's going to go, yeah, no, we need to find some parts. I can fix it for now. Or, you can do whatever you need to do to put some PowerPoints into it to get it functional. But if you're lucky, it'll be able to walk. And that's about as far as you're going to let that go with it. And if you're going to have the Techno Wizard, spend one of his Arcane Machinist abilities to get that up and working really quick, or to create a magical weapon just to be able to defend itself with, that could be one of 3 that he has for the session. So you have to kind of be really smart about when you use it, because Arcane Machinist allows you to create it on the fly in one round, but that's really limited. You can't do that every round, every combat, all day long, every session, all the time. And to build a Techno Wizard device, such as a vehicle or otherwise, you're talking, I think it's 2d6 days for vehicle weapons, gears, robot and power armor that's Techno Wizard driven. Even like regular procedure for like personal weapons to make a sword or a pistol or maybe repair a personal item, it's still going to take you something like anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. So, you could be seriously hindering yourself. It's great that you can do it, but you got to take that with a grain of salt. The limitation isn't the great all-powerful Oz, in a little bitty ship. That's what it's going to be like.
So the core Savage Worlds rules for Smite is +2/+4 with a raise, and Greater Smite inside of Rifts is +4/+8. One thing that I noticed is that it says that the bonus damage is +4 with a success, but with a raise it's +8, and the damage becomes mega damage. Now, the way it's worded sounds a little tricky. Is it +4/+8 mega damage with Greater Smite, or just the +8 with a raise becomes mega damage?
The only one that becomes mega damage is the raise +8.
Wow.
The +4 is regular damage, but it is +4 in addition to the dice that you're rolling. So if you're rolling, say, just a regular, just Joe Schmo hacker, he's not a combat machine. He rolls 1d6 for his fist to punch somebody, and he's going to add 4 if he's successful because of the smite power. But if he rolls really well, a dice explodes or whatever, and he gets a raise on it, now he's really talking. He's going to knock that guy he just hit not only through the wall, but knock a hole in his chest, because it becomes a mega damage hit now.
You just wait till I cast Smite on my COD piece of Doom and start crotch firing bullets at +8 at everything.
Unfortunately, you got it.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you something. If you want to get that raise, probably one of the best things that you can do is bump up your spirit and take Elan, and then you also want luck and great luck, so you'll have those extra bennies. Because Elan gives you a +2 whenever you spend a Benny. So that is a huge, huge boon.
Yeah, but you're also using up 2 edges. That could be really important, especially for the iconic classes, because a lot of those edges can really transform your character. Yeah, you'll be good, you'll be lucky, you'll have those edges, but you really have to take that with a grain of salt, right? I mean, it is give and take. That's one of the great things I love about Savage Worlds. You cannot do a super powerful character with having at least 1 or 2 weaknesses there that the GM will definitely take advantage of.
Right.
So, yeah, we get those last couple of pieces in the required knowledge. We get those free skills, which is always awesome. But we were just talking about it. Every edge comes with a complication, and the Techno Wizard is no different. So one of the first ones is Cybernetics. Even though they love technology, Techno Wizards are going to suffer from penalties to their magic, just as if any other arcane background does whenever you have implanted Cybernetics. So take a look at page 108 for more details on what that is. Also, Techno Wizard complication number 2 is device dependent. And I think this is where a lot of GMs don't use this against their players as much as they should, or at least I use it against them. You have to have gear and tools to make your magic work. If they don't have gear and tools, not everyone is sitting in a junkyard with a machine shop behind them making Techno Wizard stuff all day long. Eventually, you will end up in, a desert environment with just whatever wrench and hammer you have in your backpack and a piece of wire, and you're going to have to MacGyver it. You're going to have to figure it out and make it work with what you have available. So I think that's really, really key that a lot of people should be able to not take advantage of, but protect themselves. I could just see a whole bunch of Techno Wizards running around with backpacks full and wagons full of gears and parts just to make sure that they can use their magic.
If you're alone in the desert with nothing but wire, you got to make sure you want to pull it.
And last but not least here, we're talking enemies.
Victor's just like, I'm out of here. I'm carrying on.
Not even going to go there. Not even going to go there.
Man, I got nothing.
So we're going to go, number 3 here is enemies. Like all practitioners of the arcane arts, Techno Wizards are outlaws in the Coalition States. The Coalition States don't let you do anything. They're no fun.
They hate
don't
everybody.
let you have any fun at all.
They don't even let you read, man.
Nope, they sure don't.
I feel like my Riffs is gonna my Riffs future, or when I play, is gonna have Trump as like the supreme dictator that's building a wall around the entire, and he's the one guy that survived, and he hates all anybody and everybody, and he's trying to kick them all out.
Glorious Emperor Prosect.
Yeah, well, instead of Lord Dunskin, it's going to be Lord Trump.
The Emperor is dead. Long live the Emperor.
Right.
Yeah, now, as if it wasn't bad enough that you're considered an outlaw because you know magic or you're a Techno Wizard in the Coalition States, neither does Lord Dunskin like that. If you don't follow Lord Dunskin 100% complete fealty to him, you're immediately considered an outlaw or an enemy of the state, even if you're a member or part of the Tommorow Legion, or maybe especially because you're a member of the Tommorow Legion. You're going to be dumped on by all of Lord Dunskin's troops, which is kind of a misnomer in a way, because you're a Techno Wizard. You have the same potential energy and the same arcane background that a lot of Lord Dunskin troops have. A lot of Lord Dunskin's troops have Techno Wizard devices. So if you want to be able to sneak a character in to the True Federation, a Techno Wizard is going to be your best bet. That's going to be the guy that can go in and he can sneak in and repair stuff and kind of make a business or get into the military ranks, or as a mercenary Techno Wizard, go and do a lot of really good for the Federation. And while you're there, you can kind of sneak around and find out some other things. I've seen that played up really, really well. You just have to be careful as that player character, because with magic comes a lot of tricks that you got to look out for, like the mind reader that's sitting in the street corner that actually works for the Coalition, or the mind melter, or the other Techno Wizard that can detect different types of auras or abilities, and he realizes, wait a minute, that's Techno Legion gear, or that's the Tommorow Legion gear, or the symbol, or why is he thinking about the Tommorow Legion right now? What has this guy got to do with it? So play that up as a GM, steal that, make them think outside the box, because you have to be really careful when you're working that kind of angle in the Federation or in the Coalition States, because the Coalition States have the same capabilities.
Has Dunskin been statted out inside of Savage Rifts?
Yes, he has.
Is he like insane?
Awful.
Yeah, it's absurd. Insane? His stats are just ridiculous. Skills, abilities, powers, everything.
He's invincible.
I mean, he would have to be, because he's such a dick that I just feel like anybody playing this game.
He's wearing a demon.
What?
Yeah. All right, so here's 2 things you got to know about Lord Dunskin. The only guy that can make Karl Prosek look good is the fact that his armor is actually a greater demon, that he's lobotomized.
What? That sounds awesome, dude.
He's lobotomized a demon, and he's wearing its carcass.
That is insane.
He's also immortal or invincible as long as he sacrifices 1 innocent a week.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just feel
he just goes straight up Kali Ma on somebody.
Yeah, I just feel like this guy is such an ass hammer that your party's sole mission would eventually just try and be just to kill this guy, and that would be sort of like the gist of, I feel like, every game would be like, this guy's just such an ass that we got to kill him. So I figured he would have to be pretty close to being invincible.
We talk, like anybody that plays Rift, when we talk about the Coalition, we automatically go to, oh, they're awful, oh, they're terrible, oh, they're racist. Look at who they're going up against. Like, the Federation of Magic is headed up by Dunskin, and he's surrounded by a bunch of baby-eating lizard people. I mean, really?
Mm-hmm. And they all follow him unconditionally, because if they don't, he'll kill them.
I mean, he's wearing the last guy that decided to get out of step, so...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you know what? I think that's one of the things. It brings up a really great point about the Rifts world in general, the Coalition States and the True Federation. Yes, you can play them as a black and white good versus evil kind of game. But if you really know Rifts and you know the background before it, there's 30 years of every color of gray in between that are history with every government, every major organization, mercenary, weird starfighter force, alien group, DB, whatever you want to call it. There's every shade of gray that can be shown in the human condition or otherwise. I mean, look at the gargoyle kingdoms in Europe.
Yep.
They literally eat people. And they're like living next to one of the second largest, human settlements in the world that's still alive. And that's absolutely amazing, but nobody really talks about that. What about Japan? What about Atlantis, for heaven's sakes? Are you kidding me? The Splugor slavers? They make the coalition and the True Federation. They look like Boy Scouts.
Right. I mean, like just the Splugorth. Like the reason why people join the coalition, like if you were to see like just the whole, like Atlantis is pretty much like 24/7 hentai Lovecraft all the time. I'm like, no! Save us, Prosec! Bring your robots of doom!
Well, that's how the coalition sells it, though. That's how the coalition totally has the human race totally brainwashed about it. I mean, Emperor Prosek himself will tell you, he says it in his propaganda, and there's a whole books written on what he thinks and him and his kids and how he's totally brainwashed everybody. But he believes the coalition states are the savior of Earth. Yeah. They are the ones that are going to save Earth, close the rifts, get rid of all these DBs, kick them out, and say, screw you, we were here first, this is our planet, we're going to save the human race. Yeah. Unfortunately, he just only wants to save just the human race. Those humans that are normal.
If you are going to run a campaign and you're going to have Carl, like there's two characters you got to keep in mind. That's Carl and Joseph. And Joseph is the son.
Yep.
And Carl is the emperor. He's the head honcho, but he is delusional. He is absolutely, we're going to save humanity by any means necessary. Yep. Joseph is a sadist. Like Joseph is the one that opened up Joseph opened up the camps and started experimenting on magic users to see,
Joseph's the one you got to worry about. That's the one that scares me.
He is sick. He will experiment on people just to see what happens. And for all of Karl Prosek's faults, I mean, he's drinking his own Kool-Aid, but he's not really enjoying it. He's enjoying the glory of humanity. Joseph is just reveling in like, hey, I get to hurt people.
Yeah. Total malevolent, miscreant anarchist is how you would see Joseph.
Have you guys seen the Matrix cartoon? Like way back in the day, it's kind of old.
Yeah.
But do you remember the part of the Matrix cartoon where all the robots in the war, like the humans versus the robots, you see all these humans hanging from meat hooks, and they're being like kept alive through different machines and stuff like that. And the robots are experimenting with their brains and stuff, trying to make them laugh and cry and do all sorts of weird stuff. I'm just getting that vibe from this creepy sadist dude.
But instead of doing it to human beings, they're doing it to all the dimensional beings that are non-human or magic users or mind melters or, all these things that they can't control. They're totally like on the far deep end of, if it's not human and I can't control it, it's the enemy. It's going to die, or we're going to use it against everyone else, against our own enemies for it.
Wow. Rifts just gets more interesting the more that the more we do these podcasts, the more interesting the backstory gets. We're just about finished with this Techno Wizard. So we got the Gearhead Geek section, and then the starting gear, and then one of the cool sections that I really like is to survive and thrive. So what is Gearhead Geek going to do for us?
So the Gearhead Geek, the Techno Wizard is, just like all the rest of the characters in Rifts, they're all a little crazy, right? They're all a little odd is a nice way to put it. So this one, in this particular session, it says some talk, hum, or sing to their gear. Others paint sigils, runes, arcane diagrams all over their machines. However that weird Gearhead Geek manifests, every Techno Wizard has the quirk hindrance for that class. So you got to come up with some kind of quirk. And of course, if your GM's worth his salt, he's going to use that against you every single chance he gets.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. You got to think with all of this technological gear that if you were trying to hide or something like that, it would almost be cool to give them, some kind of penalty every time they were using their gear or trying to be stealthy or something like that. Of course, unless they were using, detect or conceal or hide or something like that. There's so many possibilities, man. I freaking love Rifts. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's nice to play a game that has so many possibilities. That's what a lot of people shy away from. And I'm sure, Dustin, you've heard this on your podcast, and I know you guys have talked about it. Playing a game that has the kitchen sink in it and everything else that goes with it is hard. It pushes the limits, not only the imagination and the players around you, but the multitude of options that you have. Some people find it intimidating. It's fun to play an open world, an open game, a kitchen sink game, but it can be really intimidating. The thing you got to consider, and my advice, and this advice goes out to everybody who plays role-playing games, just play within your own limits. No one's expecting you to play a 50th level under mountain, 16-year campaign with, really great, powerful superhero fantasy characters. You wouldn't even know where to start on how to challenge them, how to play the game, how, what the whole history background is and the amount of work that's involved in that. Don't play it if you are not capable of it, or if it doesn't even interest you. Don't do it. If you just want to play a 4-color comic book style Rifts character, that is crazy and he wears a bunny outfit and shoots first thing he sees every time he sees it, hey, knock yourself out. Have some fun with it. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. If you're having fun making stories with your friends, nobody's going to tell you you're doing it wrong. And it's the same thing with Rifts. Don't be afraid. Just jump into the deep end and play the game up to the limits that you want to. Trust me, eventually you'll start to read more about Rifts and you'll start to like it. There's a lot of content for Rifts. I mean, Gary, look at this. We've gone through page 43 of the original rulebook, right? The first Savage Worlds Rifts conversion or translation, whatever you want to call it, of the Tommorow Legion Players Guide. There's how many other books of the Savage Worlds versions of this? And then there's like 80 or 90 different books in the Palladium version that are all, 200-300 page tomes that cover different regions of the planet of Earth. Yeah. We've been talking about this for almost 12 months. This is our 12th episode. There is a whole boatload of content. But you know what? If you only like that one page on 387 of the original Rifts book, then just play with that one page of 387. That's all you got to do. No one's going to tell you you're doing it wrong.
So, Techno Wizard starting gear. Not much to it. You get the Adventure Survival Armor, the TK Revolver. It says, you get with one Techno Wizard minor upgrade. See page 106. So you get a revolver with some stuff on it. A little bit of bling.
Yeah, a TK revolver, and you can, do a couple of, I think you get one minor upgrade. Is that what it said? Yeah, one minor upgrade to it. Lots of different things you can do with upgrades. Don't even get me started. I built a whole worksheet on it. If you look in the Savage Rifts annual, right near, just before the spell cards are there, you'll see there's a whole worksheet on Techno Wizard device conversions, what the prep is, what the build roll, what a failure, what a success, what a raise will give you, how to add a minor upgrade, how to add a major upgrade. Literally, there's a whole page of stuff on there. I highly recommend everybody use it, not because I want you guys to use it, but if you're a Techno Wizard, this is going to be your cheat sheet for making Techno Wizard devices. I like it. I use it, and that's the only reason I made it, is because I use it whenever the Techno Wizard goes crazy and decides to make that flying car.
Mm-hmm. One of the things, there's an entire... The gear section, I don't know if we touched on this, but you can actually convert stuff to Techno Wizard items. Mm-hmm. It's expensive. I mean, it is expensive as hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just to add a minor upgrade is going to cost you 5,000 credits in parts. Minor upgrade.
But when you convert mundane gear into Techno Wizard gear, then it's powered by your PPE pool, and imagine what happens when you get on a Rift.
Yeah, bang, zoom. That's what happens when you get on a Rift. Exactly. That's why you want to hand the Leyline Wizard the telekinetic railgun that can only be fired on a leyline.
Mm-hmm. I was watching.
Look at Gary's eyes light up. Look at him. Look at him.
I was watching a YouTube video today about the American railgun thing that they were shooting, and you got to see this thing go through 10 sheets of concrete and just keep on going. It sails through all of them. The last part of this thing, and one of the cooler parts, is called To Survive and Thrive. So inside the Rifts book, they give you little pointers on how to play these characters. So it says that while not a power user of magic or psionics like the others, your Techno Wizard can bring some potent weaponry to bear. Remember that you have the ability to convert items to work on PPE or ISP and upgrade the Techno Wizard devices, which is what we were just talking about. They also, it says the Arcane Machinist ability means that the Techno Wizard can come up with just about anything on the fly, even in combat. That is super cool. When I was playing Deadlands, I was playing a shaman. Shaman gets a similar kind of a deal where he can make a totem, and you can basically once a day make a totem of any of the spells available, and it's like you just kind of have to sort of maybe use a little bit of foresight to think about what you're getting into that day, or just make a generic one where the totem just like always does entangle and you just throw it, or something silly like that. Arcane Machinist is a cool feature. Lastly, it says, for many groups, your Techno Wizard is the only hope they have of dealing with technological or scientific problems, including repair needs. And that's it. That's the Techno Wizard in a nutshell. You're talking about these 90 books and all of this stuff. Have you guys got personal favorites? Like, if you're gonna, maybe assign some homework to the listeners, what would it be? What book would you suggest that they go read? Have you got a favorite from the archives?
Oh my gosh! So, I don't know that here. One of the problems that I've run into with the Palladium material is that you will have extra classes. This is part of the reason why I don't really like class-based games, and they'll just be spread out all over the place. Like, help me out, Victor. Am I right? It's the vampire one. It's Arturo, Adreno.
Arsno. Yeah, it's Arizona.
Arsno. Yeah,
it's Arsno, the vampire incursion. It's Arizona. Yeah, that's like my backyard, literally. Like, I live in southern Arizona, so that whole book is all written about the vampire incursion, the vampires that run the Mexico, or the country of what was left of Mexico, and the whole Doc Reed and his raiders, and how they plan on destroying that threat of the vampires using their Techno Wizard holy water guns, and it's just absolutely craziness. That is a campaign. You could literally play in that for years. I think it's a really, really great start if you're looking for something different that hasn't been covered in the Savage Rifts books. Arsno's a really good one. I guess that's one of my favorites only because I'm from Arizona, but I've got to reach way, way back there, and I've got to say that the one of my favorites is probably Wormwood, which is one of the first Dimension books, and it's got to be the Coalition War Campaign. That's just got a slew of anti-coalition stuff that you can use against your players. I mean, entire mercenary companies, coalition soldiers, weapons, armor, robots, vehicles, transports, tanks, spider tanks. Between that one and Rift's Mercenaries, probably some of the best stuff written for Rifts. I mean, there's a lot in there to like, but I think you're right, though. Just like playing any kitchen sink game, there's a lot of classes, and there's a lot of stuff scattered all over the place. But just like the Earth, it's an amalgamation of different cultures, people, dimensional beings, and all kinds of weird stuff going on. The New West is actually a pretty good one too. But again, I like the Southwest because that's where I grew up. That's what I know. So those are always fun. But yeah, that's one crazy place to play.
We're talking I'm always partial to Splicers.
No, Splicers is near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love that one.
You don't have Techno Wizards, but you do have Techno Jackers, which are effectively, they're like Techno Wizards, but they are really, really disliked in that particular culture. I think it's so weird. Like with the Techno Jackers, they're almost as despised as the Machine.
Yeah, to an extent, you're right.
But anyway.
All right. Well, let's put a pin in this one. We're done. Let's head over to into the fray.
Whoa! Bloody hell! Oh man, I love this guy. Do we have to go yet? Yes. Oh please. Of course we do. We've got work to do. Please, can we stay just a little bit longer? Stop it, Jeffrey. Right. Come on back through the rifts there. Fine. Can you hear?
Well, the sweet sound of that rift opening means it's time to pack up and portal out. I say we yondu this from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm Mary Poppins up in this sucker. What do you think, Rick?
I love it, Gary. I love it. You guys can reach us at the Murder Hobo Show at gmail.com, or you can get us on Twitter if you want to keep it under 140 characters at the Murder Hobo Show. And, of course, you can find us over on the Google Plus page, Murder Hobo Show, under the Nerds International banner. Or you can reach out to myself directly at Google Plus Savage Rifts page, along with Dustin and Gary and about 500 other crazy nuts that were out there playing Savage Rifts. So please come join us if you haven't been a part of the community. And if you are, thanks so much for contributing. It's been a great, I'd say, 12 months, 16 months or so since the Savage Rifts Google Plus page got created. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody. None of us would be here without you. Keep doing what you guys are doing.
Be sure to check out the newest podcast on the Nerds International deal, which is Finding the Narrative with Chris Holmes and Tony Fanning. They talk about Genesis. There's a ton of stuff coming up for Genesis. These guys are always going on about it, writing things up, doing some stuff with it. There's a few new books that are coming out, probably some more dice because you need a lot of dice for that game, I think. But Dustin, what is that deal that you do over there? Is it like Wacky Wednesday Adventures? Friday killing spree.
Anything can happen Thursday, and I actually have to thank Victor. He was the first one to do this. Well, obviously, I mean, he set it up, but how I got to do Anything Can Happen Thursday is I was reading Victor's post about his operator that had the orangutan sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the one that kind of kicked it off, and I was like, you know what, I kind of like this. I'm going to start adding to this. So I took a little bit of initiative. I didn't mean to step on anybody. I didn't mean to step out of bounds, but I just started every Thursday just posting one adventure seed until I slowly creeped in. Like, the thing is that people need to know about Anything Can Happen Thursday is that it's just a jumping off point. It's like it's a story seed, but it's a writer's prompt. Like you can take, I will actually write out the post, and then I'll go back and I'll edit parts out.
Sure.
And I'll make it vague because it's designed to just spur GMs into action.
Maybe you want to go expand on your Thursday deal into Friday. And call it like Fill It Out Fridays or
right.
Maybe F It Up Fridays, or you could write like a little bit more where you could F Shizzle Up on Fridays or something like that. No?
In my spare time while I sleep, Gary, I'll take care of that.
There's two of you. Come on.
We're just going to dream. Like the dreams will give us the answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to catch our other podcast, Threats, Treats, and Timers, where we talk about, of course, the index card role-playing game. And for those of you who don't know, ICRPG Core 2.0 is due any day now. Gary, I am super excited about this. I don't know about you. Hanker and Franel posted yesterday. He says that the digital PDF is complete, and he's compiling the physical copy for release pretty much within a few days now, if not less. So counting the hours. So freaking out here. Absolutely ecstatic. If you guys don't know anything about Index Card RPG, look it up on DriveThru. Look it up at the Google Plus page. ICRPG.com. Really great D20 light system, but that doesn't even begin to touch the genius that it is. We're doing a whole podcast on it, Threat, Treats, and Timers, so check that out. Me and Gary talking with Frank from Middle Earth Training Company. Hopefully he will be able to continue doing that here in the near future. I think we got one scheduled for Sunday, and I know as soon as we do, or as soon as Hankerin puts out Core 2.0, we'll have to have him back on the show and talk about that some more.
Tune in next time when Victor's going to combine his two favorite things, ICRPG and Riffs, because I'm sure there's a world primer in there somewhere.
You had to go there, didn't you?
I know you're going to do it. I know it's going to happen.
It's only the secret to my madness is I've been creating a lot of what are called world primers for the index card role-playing game. And world primers are kind of small, compact campaign platforms for you to be able to use as a jumping off point to use index card role-playing game in your favorite setting. So what I've been doing is I've been creating a whole bunch of them. And I think I'm at about 12 or so now, but I've been using them to experiment different rules and different options to be able to match them all together into a Savage Rifts world primer. or excuse me, a Rifts world primer for the ICRPG system. I'm really looking forward to that and making a really light version of Rifts that I think will really work. Index card role-playing game. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Look it up on Drive-Thru, man. Tell you what, it's the next best thing. It's the next greatest thing.
So yeah, tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show. We'll be tackling more on the characters section of this player's guide. There is a butt-ton of material. And
the Flamewind Dragon Hatchling is next.
Yes, Flamewind Dragon Hatchling. Dustin, if you're not doing anything,
a dragon, I love it.
Come on back next time, next week probably, or you know, this is a 2-hour podcast extravaganza going on here. But what I would like to do is have you come back on and just have you and Victor just talk about Rifts, the world, instead of the players or the character classes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I find it utterly fascinating, like with the Mexican vampires and the Arizona stuff that you're talking about and how all of this stuff comes together. I mean, this guy's been writing books for 30 years. There is some serious, like, background lore, and it's neat to listen to you two guys talk about it together.
Yeah, no, I think so. That would be fun, man. Yeah, be in touch.
The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and education or review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2018, all rights reserved.
It's so easy. It's so much fun to play.
It's like taking your pants off and running down the street with your dangling on a warm but rainy day. You know what I mean? It's that kind of freedom. You just do what you want to do.
Pants optional.
I was going to say that Canada sounds like an awesome place.